Hey everyone, this is Tim Gresh, professional fitter in Pennsylvania. This video will be a little bit different. This will be a deep dive into the build kit for Tim Mosso's bike. We did make a video overviewing this project recently. This one will be a little over 20 minutes, and if you look up bike nerd in the dictionary, you will see a picture of Tim Mosso. He really knows his stuff. He loves cycling, so sit back, relax, and check this out.
It's my office for the next 10 years. How about that? I even asked them, just to save that little bit of extra weight, could you paint the head tube with the badge as opposed to the screw-fixed metal accessories? So they went with a flush painted 7 badge up there. And there's a beautiful metallic quality to this paint. It's really lustrous and deep. You know, it almost looks like you could stick your finger into it and leave a ripple. The welds are awesome, surgical. They look like they were laid down by a cake decorator. We've got this wonderful logo that they color matched to the frame. You can see how they cut these lugs beautifully. Geometry is custom, size is custom. Ride, I wanted it as soft as possible because I'm a light guy. I don't need a worst case scenario type 300-pound man frame. So for my 140, I've got this and everything. The tubes, the carbon, all tuned for me. I wanted them to build in stability because skittishness and fast descents, things that will tire you out on long rides. If you have to mind a really skittish bike, it kind of takes a lot out of you. So this bike was designed to be fast, but also really stable. Think like stage race geometry as opposed to like criterium. Yeah, lots going on here. I got a specialized roubaix. They're thinking, okay, well, what's the worst case scenario? Well, a 300-pound rider with a saddlebag and a stuffed jersey. For me, this is perfect. This is very tailored. It's not just the color, it's not just the geometry, it's also literally the tubes that they picked. And I think these are filament-wound carbon, so these are really well done. This is all American sourced here, and it's just beautifully done with 7 signature rainbow stripes. I think at some point they had like a mountain bike or a cross championship, and so once you win rainbow stripes once, you wear them forever. That's the rule in the peloton, and that's also the rule if you're a bike maker. We went T47 for the bottom bracket standard because this thing's going to be internally wired, so when you get internally wired on these, you go with T47 automatically. The other thing too is because 7 fairly recently introduced internal routing and chainstay routing of brake cables. They need more clearance inside the BB shell, so that big BB shell.
We can show this part here.
Yeah, let's take a look right here.
So that's the internal where the rear brake cable is going to go down.
And this is the flagship from them. If you want their ultimate road bike, it's going to be a combination of tie-in carbon. They once tried full carbon, but they backed off that. They think, and I also agree, that having titanium gives the bike longevity and also, a complementary set of qualities between the liveliness of titanium and the damping qualities of carbon. And just little details like this make this special. You can see the 7 logo laser cut into the head tube lug, and all of this beautifully chased and squared up, and no prep necessary on the frame at the point of delivery. And if you do ever break a carbon tube, that's the nice thing about these bikes. You take out the tube, you keep the lugs. So there's an element of longevity built in here. You can see they did the same type of sculpting. They put the 7 logo there, and then also a little bit of profiling at the lugs. It's not quite Italian Rococo lug construction, but it's definitely something above and beyond what you'd find on a 2000s Le Monde tie-carbon hybrid. This is still very boutique and very custom. And how much more custom does it get? I've got my name right on there.
Mr. Tim Mosso. So I might have to hire Tim at some point because he clearly knows his stuff. Maybe he could be my new frame builder or something like that.
There you go.
Yeah.
I'm open to everything. I spend a lot of time around watches. I'm used to machines like this big. So this is the macroscopic machine. This is right up my alley. I don't know if I have the eyes and the hands to be a watchmaker, but bikes, sign me up.
Awesome. Well, we should show all the different parts too.
Yeah, let's go check out the parts.
You were talking about that a little bit, but
oh, yeah.
Let's go through all of it.
Come here. All right, so we got some exciting stuff here. This is a very custom build. Obviously the first part of any custom build is you do the fit with Tim. You work with 7 to produce the frame, but then, a bike is the sum of its parts, and there are a lot of parts. You can only determine so much with the frame. So let's start right over here. I think the best way to get started is with the cockpit, because the cockpit's all your touch points. So this right here is the Burke Plo 143. Now, this is actually a incredibly sub 100 padded saddle. You can see it's got a channel down the center, I believe 7x9 ovalized rails. Now I actually put this thing on a scale, it was 95 grams. It's still a padded saddle. I wanted something lighter than my Antares, but as much as I liked the Physique Antares in terms of profile, it's a big heavy boat anchor of a saddle. So being able to duplicate its proportions and its dimensions with a broad nose and a large flat back, very little sort of side-to-side tumble home, this gives me everything the Antares has, but with a lot less weight, and the addition of a channel, which I didn't have on my 12-year-old bike with that Antares. Now this, that came from Berk in Slovenia. This
and that's sub 100 grams.
Yeah, this is 95 grams confirmed. We put that on a scale. This right here is THM Olna. This is from the nice folks at THM in Germany. And you know, when you look at really expensive, really light carbon, it almost has like a scaly quality where the resin evacuation is complete. You almost can feel the texture, the weave. So this right here is going to be about 160 grams, and you know, you can see it's a compact curve. It's got a channel if you want to internally route, and it's also got little friction points for more easily mounting the shifters and then the stem. What I really like here is it's ultra lightweight, but it's not weight weeny to the point that you need to worry about your life and limb. It's got these great ovalized tops where you can put your hands when you're climbing. And everything here is really designed to work as a system, because I've got the ulna right there, but then I've also got the tibia, which is a stem they make. And if you've seen the Schmalke stem and you're wondering why they look the same, it's because Schmalke bought THM and then rebranded the stuff. But this is the real deal, THM tibia with their own name on it. And a wonderfully light, but not wickedly light. This is going to be about 80 to 90 grams. Hardware is titanium, and you can see that we've actually got a special out and front mount from Carbon Works in Germany. And this only weighs about 9-11 grams. And this is going to go in here, lock in place, and then the Garmin mounts on this thing. So this is the only out front mount for the THM tibia. And so these two things go together like peas in a pod. Really stiff, but also between the bar and the stem, a decent amount of high-frequency vibration damping, while still having that kind of like low-frequency stiffness that people appreciate in a sprint or a hard effort. Really cool stuff, and you can see the way it's made. The binding bolts are unlike anything else in the industry. The way the faceplate is attached, you can see sort of the angular deflection of these bolts to get better purchase on, you know, the substrate of the stem. A really cool looking piece that's a work of art in its own right. Now this, for me...
No, I would say that is wickedly light.
It is wicked. You know, let's do we have the scale here? Let's figure out how wickedly light this is, because I was saying 80 to 90. Well, let's see how much this stuff really weighs. On these, we work with all sorts of 19th century standards. So there's your 3.1 ounce stem, which is right around that range we thought in terms of grams. Now here is the seat post, which is 4.8 ounces. And you can see right here that it is a beautiful carbon weave. This is kind of like a top coat right here. And then UD for the leaf spring part. So this is designed to offer a little bit of flexibility and compression and not be kind of dependent on the amount of exposed seat posts, because there are a lot of flexible seat posts that ride really nicely, but they ride best when you've got a lot of exposed post, and not every setup and every bike has that. So here they create this leaf spring structure, so even if you've got this thing inserted to the max, you're going to get the same amount of compliance as someone who's got maybe 5, 6, 7 inches of exposed tubes. That's the idea right there. And again, as with everything, THM really nicely made. Now they say in cycling, light, cheap, and strong, pick two, and as you could see, we picked light and strong and bit the bullet with the price. But my last bike build was 12 years ago, so I feel like we're going to amortize this with years. We got little cassette lock rings for taking a few grams out of the back end of the bike from Italy. We've got carbon ties, an ultra lightweight clamp, and this is what they call acid green. I'd say acid green is really the color theme that dominates this bike. Little stickers and decals on there make it a bit difficult to see. But a really nice piece from Carbon Tie, super lightweight. We've got Industry 9, and Industry 9 makes wonderful things out of North Carolina. And you can see we have a combination of a zero stack and external cup with their iris. And this is the headset right here. It's really nicely done. really beautifully anodized with consistency across all these parts, which is not easy to do in green. I know a lot of companies have given up on light green and anodizing. Wolf's Tooth, for example, has cut down on the number of really light green components they make because getting the same shade from piece to piece can be tough. All these were made separately. All these are the same shade. It's really impressive. For the water bottles, we've got these flush fit aluminum screws in green. From Extra Light in Italy, we've got the little Extra Star, I think that's called, or Ultra Star, I think this is called. And then we've got their aluminum bolt and their top cap, and these things go together to lock down the stem and the bars on the steerer tube. And that sounds like a good time to actually go and take a look at the fork, which is right here. Now you can see this is a really nice piece. Number 6, if you're not familiar with Number 6, this is the component brand of US-Canadian hybrid bike maker Number 22 Cycles. And so this is by them, and it's designed primarily to work with their bike, but I really liked the combination of clearance and weight. So the idea on this bike was that we'd be able to ship a 35mm tire, and this can take even more than that while still being a road fork. It's not some sort of off-road hardware that's going to force you to compromise in terms of weight or geometry. This is still very much a road racing fork. It's just got enough clearance that you could, I believe, put a 38 through it and not have to change a thing. You've got a tapered steerer tube, which is always nice. I think the era of really huge, straight diameter steerer tubes is just about over. So you get a good amount of bottom end control without channeling an obnoxious amount of shock and high frequency vibration up to the handlebars. So this was actually painted by Seven. So you'll note it perfectly matches that Granny Smith paint coat of the frame. Getting the two things done custom was really special. And while I went with a color that they offer, they can paint a sample basically. So if you're very attached to a color and they don't have it, you still have that option. It's a little bit like getting a Rolls Royce. Okay, we continue with our journey. This is actually 3 different very impressive things put together. First, Tim and I are kind of designing this bike around saving my knee. So cadence over force. I'm going with a 34 and 34. So 34 small ring on the chain ring, then 34 largest sprocket on the back. You can see we've got the Dura Ace right here. We've got one example of the 1134. This is going to work with the crank, so I'm going to have a 1-to-1 climbing gear. I have no problem spinning 100 to 105 RPM without bouncing, so give me high RPM, low force all day to make my power. I'm not a masher. And then, so once you've got the Shimano chain rings, you're locked into a certain amount of weight, because these are not weight-weenie parts. This is not carbon tie. But with the combination of the Lightning crank, which is made in Lompoc, California, and the Power to Max NG 4-bolt SL, which is a lightweight version of the NG power meter for Shimano rings, you wind up with a power meter Shimano ring with crankset at 545 grams. So the full crank-based power meter with Shimano rings is 545 grams. You can go out and spend another $1,500 to get something heavier from SRM with their THM crank arms, but this right here is lighter than that, and it came in a month of ordering. So right now I think THM's parts are 1 year for delivery. I got lucky with this stuff because the shipment had just come into the US. Next shipment, 8 to 12 months after that. So I was just in the right place at the right time with these. If you want a guaranteed high-grade German-made power meter, Japanese rings, and American carbon lightweight crank-based power meter, this is the way to go. And they even sent me matching green, yep, and they're 165, I want to emphasize that. Tim put me on 165 cranks. I was on 175 my whole life. And it really wasn't until I saw some of his YouTube videos about shortening up cranks and opening up the hips that I began to realize that shorter crank arms might be better matched to my high cadence style that I've developed since hurting my knee, plus also give me a better opportunity of not getting hurt further, so that's a big deal. And again, we've got these neon green decals from Lightning, or I should say from Power to Max via Lightning. Okay, group set. First, want to shout these out because we just talked about the 165mm cranks. Here we've got speed plate zeros. These are the new Wahoo. And of course, Wahoo made quite a few changes. You'll note, among other things, there are no wrench flats. It's a very different pedal, but what matters is that you still have double-sided entry, fairly low weight, and the ability to go with custom spindle lengths. So if you go with something other than 53, it's going to be a steel spindle. This is 59, and you can see it's still just 228 grams, but I went from 53 to 59 to open up my stance with and hopefully preserve my knee better. So I'm really excited about this, and there's all sorts of advantages to using speed play that go beyond the spindles, but for me really it was the ergonomics of being able to extend those spindles out, and on just about any other pedal set you would have to use spindle spacers, which add weight and look wonky, and you just don't want more joints in the crank set than you need in terms of power transfer. So this is the best option. I'm really excited about these. Okay, silly things, we've got a few. Lizard skins, DSP 2.5 millimeter, lasts long, super cush. Ride quality was a big priority with this build, so having a nice supple, impact absorbing tape was a high priority here. And of course, because we went with neon green on the bike, we get neon green on the tape. Really looking forward to riding this. We've got a T47 ceramic bottom bracket from Lightning. I mentioned T47 for the internally cabled and internally brake routed 7622XX. So the T47 is basically a very, very large bore threaded bottom bracket that gets us away from the god-awful press fit bottom brackets of the 2000s and the 2010s. So I like the direction we've got going there.
Amen.
Oh yeah, there we go. My man in the background confirming. You see we've got custom bolts for the derailleur pulleys. That's pure vanity. I didn't go with an oversized pulley wheel because I think those things are snake oil. Like, I really don't think they make any measurable difference, and I think they add a longer cage, more prone to flex, with worse tracking of the jockey wheel against the cassette. So I think they also degrade shift quality. I'll go with a little bit of eye candy and keep this thing Shimano through and through. Okay, discs. We've got two sets of discs. We got these from Shimano, which are really important because these are going to be your Ice Tech rotors. They're good at dissipating heat. They hold up for long mileage. They're well made. You can see it's a floating design with an aluminum spindle or center carrier and then a steel disc. And the idea there is that the aluminum does a really good job of isolating the hub from heat. And of course, this is Shimano, so it's a center lock arrangement. And we're going to have some custom green center locks for these. But these are going on the higher mileage wheels because this kind of thing hauls the iron, and you want a long-lasting, thermally resilient, and ultimately hard-stopping, easy-to-modulate disc. I've got Galfer Waves in center lock form for the weight weenie wheels. A couple of other things. We got a Shimano factory chain here. We got my second cassette because I'm doing two wheel sets, so each one's going to have a cassette. I don't want to be moving the cassette on and off of different hubs, especially when those hubs are light alloy. Internal seat post battery or frame battery right here. We've got the chain. I'm going to be stripping that down, get the packaging, Cosmoline, all of the shipping oils off of it, wax that down. Wax is the way to go if you've got the tolerance for the aggravation. It has every advantage over other stuff. Now in terms of these, this is all new technology to me. I'm running 7970 first generation Dura Ace Di2 on my Holland Exagrid. This is now 9200. It's only electronic, but it's also hydraulic disc brake. So between the new disc brake and hydraulic tandem and the semi-wireless shifting, you got two wired derailleurs with a battery down in the frame, but the shifters themselves are connected to the rest of the group set only by brake hoses. The profile of these is really nice. I'm going to be riding the tops for the first time. I used to ride the drops exclusively on my bikes. Tim decided to put me on the tops, a little bit more upright, better for the back, better for the neck, hopefully more comfortable over long rides, and profiles of the tops of the shifters start to become a lot more important for me since I'm going to be spending a lot more time up there, and there is an advantage. Studies have shown that short of a full time trial tuck, being on the tops is the most aerodynamic spot. Great for those 4-5 hour rides from Philadelphia out to Pottstown and Unionville. We've got discs, we've got cooling fins on the brake pad assemblies, and then I think we should probably take a look at some of these wheels that we've got over here.
May as well.
Okay. Shout out to Fairwheel Bikes for building these up. NV34s, these are 25 millimeter internals, and they are staggered front to back in terms of depth. So this is kind of an all-around wheel set. You could use this for road, you could use this for cyclocross, you could use this for gravel. This is an all-around wheel set It is actually under 1,300 grams with the hub set that we equipped. We went with carbon tie X hubs with center lock. And so we've got that nice color key, but we've also got really strong straight pull spoke arrangements. No science projects here. This uses brass nipples. This uses Sapim CX ray steel spokes. Those carbon tie hubs are good for big miles. The Envy rims are not weight weenie parts. They're nice and tough. With the 25 millimeter internal, we're going to be running these things with Vittoria Corset, the Next. So the Next is a nylon casing 34 millimeter race and training tire. And when you put those 34s on these 25 internals, these are hookless by the way, you're going to get a tire that's 35, 36 millimeters in diameter. Under my weight, it's going to be running something like 40 PSI, which is great for self-sealing if you're going road tubeless, and these will be road tubeless. But it's also really nice for ride quality. And since these rims are already optimized for a 32 millimeter tire, it's not far off what these things are optimized for aerodynamically, which means that we're going to get a really good combo of ride quality, durability, and aerodynamics. That's really exciting, but as cool as these are, I think a lot of the weight weenies out in the world are going to be more interested in these. So this is a combination of an NV23, which is a climbing rim, with hubs that we've just barely seen in the United States so far. So these are Tactics TR01s. This is a hub brand from the people behind Princeton Carbon Works. So the front and the rear hub combined, we weighed them up. They were 211 grams. You can see these are straight pull. This is a relatively new offering. They used to be gray. Now you have a black option. We have an aluminum alloy multi-splined hub right here. And what's really cool is that they have a conical high contact rate meshing system for the clutch. So it's actually got a conical profile, so you have a lot of overlap of the teeth into the teeth that secure purchase on the wheel as a whole. So the ratchet, let's hear it. Pretty loud, not as obnoxiously loud as say like a Cadex. But you can see this was designed for the real world. This is a 1,000 gram wheel set, and let's see, there we go. Veloflex Corsa Evo. These are not weight weenie tires, 28 millimeter on a 21 millimeter rim internal, and these actually have 22 gram thermoplastic urethane tubes inside them, and I've got 38 gram tubolitos in case these let me down, but most of the puncture protection here and the durability is in the tire. You don't want to look to a tube for puncture protection. This is the right way to do it. There are softer, more race-oriented tires in the Veloflex line, but not that you're able to get in larger sizes, and I wouldn't want to put miles on them. So that is the wheel set, and yeah, we've got the front wheels built up with the same spec hubs, and I'm really excited about getting these on the road. But we got a long journey ahead of us because the parts are here. Now Tim, I don't envy his task. He's got to build all of this up, and I can tell you after 12 years of working on old tech, it feels like such a luxury to let someone else build my bike. So I'm looking forward to riding it whenever he's got the chance to put it together, and hopefully there'll be a couple of adjustments after that to dial everything in, because I think this is not like delivering a car. It's something you have to grow into, and I think with a bike fit, the best part about getting a bike through the shop that does the fit is the follow-up, so I'm really looking forward to that. Here we are at Gresh Fit on a Saturday, and my dream could be yours through 7 and Tim Gresh.